Any questions about that or any of the holiday things that's been going on or anything? I'll try to answer them, but I'll not bore you with them unless you have questions.
Yeah.
Anyone have a question for the mayor? Commissioner Blake?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is kind of going back to our September meeting. I think really all that's happening here is that we're speeding up the part where, the 50-50 part. I mean, we were kind of, well, in September, just saying, go after the grants first and then, but we're setting, earmarking the grant money. I guess, how are we coming up with the 11 million piece on it?
The
That's our-
cost of it, it'll be $11 million grant request, and if it's awarded, our 10% match would be the 1 million.
So if it comes in less, then we'll have some.
If they
extra
don't
money.
approve it all, it'd be less,
It'll
you
be
know.
less. If it's
right.
more, then we have to talk about it, I guess.
And what this is really is the remaining part of the grant that we didn't get the last time. I think because of the dollar amounts across the state, they didn't award all of them. So this is finishing out that request. It was an $18 million grant request roughly. The last time we got awarded $8 million. And so we'll be applying for the other 11 million now this time, and that would be our match. And you all were concerned about going with grants first, so this commits the match for that grant. And while we're waiting on the state, which is moving very slowly on these grants, we can be working with Volunteer to get the $4 million project underway.
Can I ask Tom to be recognized real quick, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman?
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, Dave. So, I'll wait till he gets up here. So you've got basically 3 different things going on. The grant that was already approved, the 8 million in our portion and your portion. Then I guess this potential one that's coming up here in the spring or whatever. I'm assuming, which I shouldn't do, that it's going to work the same way as the first grant.
Yes,
Our 10%, your 10%, and then the state's portion and stuff like that.
correct, yes.
And like the mayor said, they're taking forever. Now to the 50-50 part, we've got the money in the bank now. If we wrote you a check today, in theory, how fast for this map? And the 50-50 is basically the McDonald area. It looks like
Yes,
yeah, South Cleveland, that area, this part right here.
Yep.
So I guess I'll sum it up, and you can elaborate as much as you want. How fast are you ready? I mean, whatever you can speak to that.
our men would be able to begin work on the project right away. Now, what that means is essentially the engineering work still needs to be done. So we've drawn these polygons out and we've come up with the estimates, but we would have to do a road by road design of where the fiber would be installed, how it would, as I think most of you understand, the fiber cable has individual strands of fiber inside of a bound together cable. And so what we would do is start out with a large cable that has, say, 244 strands of fiber in it. And as it works its way down the system from the substation toward the end user, you wouldn't want to run that 244 the entire length. As you dogleg off on side roads, you would want to use smaller cables. So we would have to make, a design that indicates how much of the large cable is needed, how much of the small cable is needed. So we would need to finish that design. So we've done the very most basic part to give you the estimate, but the engineering still needs to be done. That's probably going to take, I would estimate, 3 or perhaps 4 months to complete because they do very detailed design, of course. At that point, then we would start the make-ready work. The make-ready includes going out, looking at the utility poles in the proposed service area to make sure that the poles are in good shape. So if we were to identify any poles that are rotted, we'd go ahead and take those down and replace them with brand new poles to make sure that we don't have any infrastructure issues after service is turned on. We would also look at the height of the poles to make sure that the poles are tall enough to accommodate an additional cable in the communications space. And so we would probably find a percentage of the poles that needed to be replaced and heightened. They would also put up the steel messenger cable on the poles. That's the cable that we would bind the fiber to. So there's a lot of make-ready work that would go into that before the fiber itself is actually put on the pole. There'd probably be a couple of months of make-ready work, men on the ground actually doing this work in order to have the system prepared to accept the fiber, at which point then we could install the fiber. Once fiber is installed on the poles, we would actually complete out circuits with fiber, and as those circuits are completed and are able to be turned on, we would go ahead and turn on those circuits first. And so, essentially we're putting our controls in our substation house in our electric substation and running the service out of the substation house. So those people who live closest to the substation house would be the ones who would most likely get service first. We would also be installing splitter cabinets in the community. Those who live closest to the splitter cabinets, once those circuits were completed, would also be able to be energized first. And so we wouldn't be able to turn everybody on day number one, obviously. But as circuits are completed and are able to be turned on, we'd go ahead and turn those on. We would not make everybody wait until the very end of the project to turn everyone on at once. So as it became available, we would turn that on. You know, we're talking about probably a third quarter physical construction start, and then we're probably looking at about a total build out of 18 months, beginning on the day that we are greenlit to start.
Sorry. So the folks that are in the blue here in your map, even though you're going to tier it out, they can quote unquote somewhat be guaranteed that eventually in 2024, maybe the first quarter, according to your timeline, they'll have the ability to have high-speed internet if they don't
Yes.
currently right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a year from now, we'd probably be able to turn on the first subscribers.
And then you'll tier that out.
Yes.
Real quick on that. Well, that's good news. I guess the other part is, you heard the mayor give you the numbers on the 50-50 match, and I assume that's enough money to handle the map that you presented.
Yeah, so the total project cost, our current estimate is $4,194,000, so roughly 4.2 million.
Right. So
So it'd be slightly less than a 50-50. It'd be more like a 51-49, I suppose, somewhere in that ballpark.
well, we can
Close-
round. We know
close
how to
enough.
round. Yeah. To the grants, if we could circle back on those real quick. The grant one we already approved, and we're optimistic on the grant two. On grant one, we'll call it that. What is the holdup? I mean, it's probably the state, but if you can elaborate on that.
Well, so it was awarded in October, and so our engineers have been working on the finalized design, same as what I just explained here with this project. You know, as soon as we were greenlit to begin that project, we had to go back and do the final engineering design. And so there is a delay there that is natural because we have to finish the in-house work. So while you don't see boots on the ground, work is still being done. The guys are working on that right now.
But that grant is supposed to be the one where a lot of stuff happens so that stuff in the future can happen. A lot of economies of scale, right?
Yeah, it would help us because it would install some middle mile infrastructure. So VEC has 33 electric substations, some of which in Bradley County, I believe, don't have a completed fiber loop. So we have fiber running to a substation from one direction, but it does not leave that substation and connect to another. And so what would happen is we've got fiber coming in. I don't know which ones for sure, but I would use McDonald as an example. Suppose we had fiber going into the substation in McDonald and it only came in from one direction. And then we work our way out from the McDonald substation to cover those members of the community who live around McDonald. If that trunk line fiber coming into the McDonald substation for some reason were to get broken, then the feed into the McDonald substation has been broken, which means every person served out of that substation would be down. However, if we could take the fiber out of that substation and take it up toward Harrison Bay and connect it to a substation there, then it would be essentially a radial feed where we've got fiber coming in from two directions. So if one side were to get broke, we wouldn't lose service to all those people.
So that's your fault tolerance there.
Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah. It makes the system more robust.
So I guess the reason why I asked that was it could be, in theory, that the folks in the McDonald area could have internet before the ones in North Bradley County, the grant one.
In my estimation, it would probably be about the same
About
time.
the same? Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, thanks.
Okay.
David, you may be able to answer this, I don't know, but I'll work on it. Let's keep optimistic here. The grant one gets done, grant two is approved, and that's basically South Bradley County to the Georgia line. It looks like it gets done, and then this area here that we're doing to 50. Once all this is done in the next year or two, and we'll not hold you to it, how much left is in Bradley County that needs quote unquote high-speed internet?
Well, that's a difficult question to
I know.
answer. Because we've always been reliant upon the FCC maps, which all of you are aware, or I think most of you are anyway. They've been woefully inaccurate.
Yes.
The FCC just released their updated version. You and I met that one day to talk about that.
Yeah.
The new map is actually it has a higher resolution, so it's more specific. It's address by address, whereas the old map drew large census blocks, and if one address inside of the census block had service, then essentially the entire census block was deemed as being served, which that's why there was such a gross error in the map. We are actually going through a public comment period right now. It concludes on Friday, and essentially what we're asking everyone to do, if you haven't already done so, I would encourage everybody in the room to do this, is log into the FCC website. We've got a hyperlink on the VEC Facebook page if you need it, and then go to your specific address, and if you don't have service and they say that you do, tell them this is not true. Because essentially what they're doing right now, they've opened it up to the public to determine if the details of their map, their new map, are correct or not. I actually have a list of 4,440 different addresses that I'm personally looking at because we don't believe that they have service, and other service providers have claimed that they do. So it shows up on the FCC map that way, and we're trying to filter out some of that inaccuracy right now. But it's a mammoth-sized project. To answer your question, we will be able to better determine who in Bradley County still does not have service that would be eligible for service. It's not going to be as significant a number as what it has been, simply because we've captured a lot of the areas that do not have service already with some of the pilot that we did a couple years ago, the grants that have already been awarded, and the grants that we hope to have awarded this year. So as a percentage, I'm going to say that the percentage has gone down quite a bit. Now, there are going to be some out there, those outliers, even around the periphery of the projects that we've already done or are working on, who do not have service. And excuse me, so you'll still hear from those people from time to time, because the ones that don't have service obviously are going to be the ones that are most vocal. But as a percentage, I'm going to say that percentage is probably going to be down, maybe 1 out of every 4 households or less. Just a off the cuff guess.
So, and I'm not gonna hold you to time, and we can do the analysis later and report back to the full commission, but based off of that, once these projects done, it's estimated that 75% of Bradley County will have access. Where they choose to purchase high-speed internet, it's up to them.
That's a
But-
guess, but I think
But 75% of Bradley County, our entire county, should have access to high-speed internet. But
somewhere in that ballpark.
very good. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else have any questions on this subject? Is that it, Mayor?
Yeah,
I have one question, Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Commissioner
Sugar,
Ledford, please.
Sugar Grove, where is it located at on Sugar Grove? I see here 1,195 customers. Sorry.
Did you all get a copy of this map as well? Might not have. Okay. So we have the two state-funded projects that we're proposing outlined in that map, the blue and red. Yes, that one right there at the bottom. And so let's see. South Bradley, I believe, is the red one, and Sugar Grove is the blue one. And you all are probably more familiar with the area than I am. But it looks like it runs down Dalton Pike and then toward the west off of 317 there.
Yeah, that's what I need. I just didn't see it on the map, so that's just what I wanted to know to make sure it was in southeast Bradley County.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Davis.
thanks, I appreciate it. I was just on total it up, you're looking at 18, 19 million plus 4 million, so about $23 million worth of broadband work. And Bradley County will have invested $1 million, 1.8, and another 2 million, so 3.8. So we'll spend $3 or $4 million for 20-something million dollars worth of broadband, all total at the end of the day. But the reason I'm bringing it to you is, like he explained, the slow process. We need to prove this next week so Volunteer can move on with getting their phase work while we're waiting on the state grant. The state told us their next grants probably wouldn't come out till summer, maybe late summer. And then you got a delay of when they'll be awarded. So we're holding money back because you get more bang for your buck with the grants, but they're slow in coming. So that way they can be working on this one. And like you said, this one and the first grant possibly get done this time next year while we're just starting on the last grant. So $23 million worth of broadband, and we're spending about $4 million on it. Is a pretty good deal, I think, all in all, and it will get a big percentage of our citizens with broadband.
Real quick, Mayor, and this art money obviously has to be appropriated by 2024, September 1, I believe. So, and then all the projects have to be done by 2026. So the money that this 50-50 deal, and I guess also the grant, all has to be done to a certain degree unless Congress, we saw what they can do, doesn't extend it till 2026, but you're confident that it's gonna happen?
Where you're gonna have the problem possibly is in the last grant. They don't award that till fall of '23. That one's gonna get tight, and that's when they might or might not extend their deadline. But the last grant in this round with volunteer, we're not worried about. But the last grant, because I told them in the meeting, I said, you're not gonna award the grant till end of '23. That's gonna be pushing it. And they said, we know that. They won't say they're gonna give you an extension, but they know it's possibly gonna be needed.
Anyone else for the mayor? Prior to going to the committees and or district reports, I'd like to recognize our director of schools, Dr. Cash. I guess I'm wearing glasses here, and some reason I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry. We'll start on the district reports and committees from the right-hand side. Commissioner Beatty.
Everything looks real well in First District so far.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, everything's going well. I've heard many complaints over the landfill, though. I had reported this through Building and Land. Our monitoring system was put to a test, apparently. Had complaints. It did show an issue in the monitoring system. Unbeknownst to me, there was a surprise visit by TDEC, which did find an issue, and apparently that issue has been corrected. I couldn't tell you much more other than my understanding of what it was that they were not covering through the night, which led to the complaints. So other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Alford.
I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, ready to get back to work. And other than that, Second District seems to be doing well.
That's great. Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a few things, if you'll bear with me. First, from the Lee University School of Nursing, the following students were published in the December 2022 National Nursing publication called Imprint, which is a professional magazine for nursing students. The students Abby Berryman, Jordan Bisco, Danielle Emmerich, Maya Makowski, Anna Grace Sutherland, Abby Wallington, Rachel Whitaker, and Mackenzie Willis worked very hard on an article that was published in a national magazine. The name of the article was "No More Crying After Clinical Prep for Your Day." They worked hard on their collaboration, and it paid off. And congratulations to all of them. Also, Mr. Chairman, as you may know, many of us, if not all of us, had to endure the quote-unquote blackouts last week or two. Mr. Chairman, I would like for this commission to extend an invitation to TVA to come to one of our work sessions in the near future to help us and the people we represent understand exactly what happened, why, what is being done to ensure that this never happens again. So if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, to extend an invitation to TVA and work out the date and all that, that'd be great.
Thank you very much. Lori, can you work on that down the road, a work session?
And last, Mr. Chairman, this past Friday was the beginning of the 100-year celebration of the Cleveland Bradley County Library. This was the beginning of a celebration that's going to go out through the whole year. This was the first event, but you will hear and see events that celebrate the 100-year centennial anniversary throughout 2023. A couple of commissioners were there. The mayor was there. I thought it was a good event and something we can all be proud of. Last, Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee will meet about 10 to 15 minutes after this meeting adjourns. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to express sympathy and condolences from this body and personally to the Stewart and Dillard families as they continue to grieve and mourn and move through a terrible loss and a tragic event that took place this past Christmas. Continue to pray for those families, those that were impacted, including Elkmont Baptist Church and Walker Valley High School, as they, again, continue to grieve and move through an unthinkable tragedy. So I would just ask we continue to pray for those folks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Winters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 7th District is doing well. I'll say this with a microphone. The seventh district is doing well. The seventh district commissioners having jet lag as we sit here. I just had a nice trip with my wife. For you, they're keeping up with her. She's doing quite well, able to travel. Still has some work to be done to be as mobile as we like. But thanks for your prayers and good thoughts. During the time I was away, I got contact from the Art is Here committee. Art is Here. The mayor gave me the opportunity to serve with that group that's looking at a task force to embellish art opportunities here for our citizens. We were asked if there is a property. I have talked with the property chair to ensure that this request has gotten to the proper committee. Howard Thompson is reviewing this to see if there is a space that might be available for a black box studio, a place where there could be small plays, and those plays be observed by individuals. It not be the huge outpouring of actual preparation, but people learning to present plays and to be directors and be publishers, be writers, be those that support the staging. So hopefully there would be some property available in Bradley County. If you know of that, if you contact the land committee with Howard Thompson, and we could work together as a county as well as with the Art is Here. Connie Gatlin, I think, is the chair of that. Dwight Richardson is my contact and a very fine leader in this community. So it's in good hands. But if you have a suitable space, I think Art is Here would like to talk with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Gilbert.
I'd like to echo Danny's comments there on the Dillard family and his wife. They are out in our district, and man, it's hard to lose somebody like that. But went to a meeting over at the church by the juvenile center, and they hosted an internet meeting for nonprofit churches, organizations, healthcare providers, potential mentors. They're going to be having mentors to come out and take these juveniles, and when they're in trouble in school and stuff, and go out and work with them. And I say work with them. There used to be a program called Big Brother, Big Sister. I think it's kind of something similar to that. I think it's Unite Tennessee is the deal they're going to be using, and they're going to be able to keep track of these juveniles and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a pretty good deal. But the mentor part, I think, is one of the greatest things there is, and being able to let nonprofit organizations in, churches and people like that, to come in and speak to the kids and mentor. So other than that, everything's good in the 4th District.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to extend my thoughts on the terrible accident that we had on 64 Highway. And for that family and those kids, I'd just like for us to have a moment of silence here before we continue.
I think that's very appropriate. If you will, please, a moment of silence. Thank you very much for your time on the moment of silence,
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mr. Chairman.
Thompson.
Let's
Go
keep
ahead.
that family in our prayers and those children especially. This morning we have, we went over a septic repair bucket and sewer a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully there's a lot of questions being asked why that hadn't been started yet or hadn't. Of course, there's a lot of things to get it started, but we have Ocoee Utility here this morning, Tim Lawson, and he has some things to go over with us. If he would come forward, please, Tim, about hooking sewer up where it's acceptable.
Thompson, good afternoon to the commission. Today, Mayor. Well, and I'm not privy to the entire discussion that y'all have had regarding this ARP bucket for the septic problems in the county, which there are obviously many. There's about 10 miles collection system in the 4th district that we provide service to, and I think there's about 350 plus properties that if this program sees the light of day and something that comes to pass, we'll be able to help those property owners along that route not attempt to repair existing septic systems, but actually hook on to our sewer system, which I think is most likely a much more permanent solution to their problem rather than possible Band-Aid that we can offer by repairing, some of the septic systems. But along that route, like I said, there's a little over 350 current properties, homes along that route that could be impacted. Obviously, that's a small number compared to the total number of septic systems in the county. But and Commissioner Thompson had asked me to put together just some brief costs to do that, and those costs, our tap fee that includes the pump and the entire system to the home is $5,250. So, and plus, there is some additional work inside the home. There has to be an electrical connection to the pump, and we have to get the plumbing inside the home going in the right direction. And, I couldn't see that being any more than about $4,700. Typically, it's going to be much less than that. So, to repair or to take these systems offline and put these homes onto our sewer system is probably going to be much less than $10,000. I think $10,000 would be really a cap, the most that it would take. You never know what kind of situation you're getting into existing homes until you're there. But most likely, these conversions would be about $7,500 if, y'all see fit to put this option out there for this bucket of ARP money we've been discussing.
That's more information. We'll gather up more information. Mr. Mayor, do you have any idea when the petitions?
When the septic tank
Yeah.
grants will begin, they should begin in the next few days, within the next week. The contract was drawn up, it's in their hands. They indicated they would have it back signed today or tomorrow probably, and then they'll be ready to go with starting taking the applications.
Now, where will those applications come from?
The Southeast Tennessee Resource Conservation and Development District, which we'll probably have copies of them to hand out too.
Okay.
But the contract requires them to do the advertising, providing the contracts and so forth. They're located on Stewart Road, one of those plazas, farmland plazas up there on Stewart Road is where their offices are, and that's where people will go to get the application. But they'll have them up there at the.
So they can probably start picking up applications.
I would say next week to be safe, yeah.
Safe.
And we did say the 1st of January, not literally meaning January 1, but it's still the 1st of January. But no, they get that signed back to us, we'll sign it, and they'll be ready to go, and I think they're ready to move forward in the next few days then.
That's the reason I asked Mr. Lawson to be here this morning, is the fact that they do have septic in a lot of areas, especially in the 4th district, and I don't think in the 6th district you have any down in the 6th district. They supply the water in that area. But it's to the point that hopefully that we can, and we did make a motion to do that, to hook up to those septic or the sewer system if it was available instead of repairing the septic.
If I could just add to that, you approved paying for the hookups if the state said that
Right.
the septics were unfixable.
Right.
Now, if you all want to, I'm not going into yours, but if you all wanted to approve an amount of money for sewer hookups, whether it be Ocoee or Cleveland or whoever, for people that wanted to, that's up to you. But right now, you've approved septic tank repairs and hookups if they say that repairs aren't doable. So make sure you understand where we're at on our end.
Okay, what we wanna find out though is, we wanna make sure at TDEC doesn't step in if you've got a bad septic tank and you got sewer in front of your house. And will they make you hook up to that sewer instead of repairing that septic tank? That's probably the question. Yeah.
They shouldn't, but if they do, you've covered that with help for the hookup. If they say you've got to hook on, you can't fix it. If they were to say that, I think that's covered in what you all have approved.
We need this, looked in a little farther because of the fact that most of the time, the prices he's given us here would be cheaper to hook up to the sewer than it would to repair a septic tank. And I've talked to a lot of people that does septic tanks, and of course you get different prices, but we put a cap of 15,000 on that, and I think probably anywhere from 9 to 12,000 is what I've heard on septic tank repairs, if that's what they need. So this is something we need to look at close because they can hook up the sewer probably cheaper than they can hook up or get a septic tank repair. So this is something that we need to look at and make sure that we're on line with Ocoee and anybody else that are Cleveland utilities that we might be able to they might be able to help us on this. So we'll have another meeting. I don't know. We need to have it soon on the septic tank on this project.
I think we have all the approvals ready to go. Just getting the contract signed, I think, on that subject is ready to go.
Okay.
We have two commissioners, Commissioner Blake and Commissioner Rogers, who'd like to comment. Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, Mayor, I mean, everything's set to go, like you just said, not to be too repetitive. The motion was if it is deemed that that's the appropriate solution to type in the sewer, then that was approved already, I believe. So, in my opinion, everything's already in place. And you guys are gonna start accepting the applications as soon as the contract. So somebody, I say, yeah, the vendor, right? I mean, in theory, if you were to sign the contract today, they can start accepting applications tomorrow from any part of Bradley County. So to me, everything's in place. And hopefully, this is supposed to be the year that we get a lot of this done. So, Commissioner, I say that just to say I'm under the impression that everything's already in place for the solutions. If it has to be a hookup to sewer, or if it has to be, a repair of the actual septic tank, what have you. I think we left it at a high level just for that reason.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I was thinking, Mr. Mayor, I was thinking that was part of the motion, is for them to be hooked up to the sewer.
It was. I wish I had it in front of me, but I'm just saying it was approved to pay to hook on to sewer if it was deemed necessary. There's a big difference there in the play of words, so we only have the authority to grant money for hookups right now if it's deemed necessary by the state.
I don't know, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought it was, I'm thinking like Mylan Blake, like Mr. Blake was talking about. Everything was in line to do that. If it was available, sewer was available. So, right. Yeah. We can see we can see that motion. I'd like to see that motion, to make sure that how it was worded. Yeah.
Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many homes again did you say? How many?
Along the existing system route there, there's probably 350 plus, so I would say there might be 350 to 370 along the route, the existing route.
Commissioner Gilbert.
I think what the whole thing was for, Mayor, was to clean up people's septic tanks that was leaching into the creeks, right? That was the whole deal. And then we came along and said that it was for, we was gonna go, if your septic tank was tore up, messed up, your septic line, that you would have 2 contractors come in, give you a bid, turn it in to TDEC, wasn't it? Or to RC&D. And then if you had sewage in front of your house and TDEC said that they could not fix that, they had to connect onto sewer if they had it in front of their house, right? That was what the solution was. So the solution was to hook on to sewer if their septic system was tore up. But if it wasn't tore up, then you couldn't hook on, right?
Mr. Chairman.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Roger.
I-
Commissioner Roger.
I believe the agreement was, the resolution was, if the septic system is not replaceable and not fixable, if TDEC deemed that the septic system was not fixable and there was sewer in the front of your house, then you could hook up to it and apply for the grant process to hook up to it only if the septic was deemed unrepairable by TDEC. I believe that was the answer to it. Not you get to choose if one way or not. It had to be tried to be fixed first, and then TDEC would say, no, this is not repairable or fixable. Then you had the option if sewer was there.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Because TDEC wouldn't let you go back and fix your sewer. I mean, your septic system, because you had sewer in front of your house, right?
If I may add, we have several customers already that have been in that particular situation, and I can't recite the regulation or code. Yes, they're not gonna let you repair septic, do much of anything at all. Of course, that's always up to TDEC, and we all know sometimes you can get varying answers from them. But it'd certainly be, for the homeowners along this route, to go about the fixing their problem in the way they'd like to, and see what TDEC does. But I think they will actually bring them back to hooking onto the sewers.
Commissioner Hughes.
Commissioner Rogers is correct on the way that's stated and what the intention is, but Commissioner Thompson, to help you out, if a system has failed, and this is during conversations with TDEC anyway, I was advised if a failing system has failed and it's deemed unrepairable, and you have septic or sewer in front of your house, then they will require you to tie to it, because once the system fails, there's no fixing, especially if you don't have the land to do it with. So it is something that will be required by TDEC, not something that's a choice.
Thank you very much. Prior, Commissioner Thompson, if you would, schedule a committee meeting prior to the end of January so this operation doesn't get off track and we lose focus on what's going on here, please. And you're still being recognized.
That's great. Tell them problem. $100,000 and it's fair, so why that in neighbor. If they're bad, if it's bad. I've got to problem we have. So, nothing. Yeah. Can't do it. But if the answer, they can. We'll have another meeting back. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hughes.
I don't actually have an issue with the meeting at all, but it might be wise just to send the resolution that's gonna be signed as contract over so that everyone can read it and see what it actually says. I think that will clarify a lot of it, and we may not even need the meeting after you read it. It really does take care of what you're asking about.
I agree with the clarification. However, I'm all experienced with government bureaucracy and how it gets off track. And that's the reason we need to have a committee meeting by Commissioner Thompson to ensure that we're still on track and doing what we thought we were doing. And thank you. You got anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Goins.
This district's doing well, but I would like to thank Tim Mason for helping me get in process of getting a couple of properties cleaned up, one of them on Canyon Road. Looks like a tornado come through this yard, but it didn't. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Slater, who has the innate ability to pick the right dates to get out of Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since 1962, January 9th has been designated as National Law Enforcement Day. Law enforcement officers of every rank and file have chosen a profession that puts their life on the line every day for their communities. They've answered a call to public service that is often demanding and often unappreciated. From local, state, and federal, their duties command dedication. The jobs are often thankless and take them away from their families for long periods of time. Rarely do they know what their days have in store for them. More often, they work in coordination with other local, state, and federal agencies to make communities safer. Sheriff Lawson, I appreciate the job that you and your staff do every day to keep our community as safe as it can be. And I pray for you and your staff daily. I do appreciate all that you all do to keep our community safe. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Road Committee will have a meeting January the 18th at 9 a.m. It will be here in the conference room, here in the commission room. Superintendent Collins, Tom Collins, called last week. He wanted to invite the mayor and all the other commissioners after that meeting. He's wanting us to come down to his location and look at some of his equipment and other items at his facility there. Also, I've got two items I need to put for a voting for next voting session next week. The Road Committee voted at the last meeting to recommend authorizing the county attorney to prepare a quitclaim deed for property along Brook Bryson Road that will allow emergency vehicles, school buses, and mail trucks to make a complete turn. Place this recommendation on the January 17th voting session agenda. And my last item is the committee also voted to recommend approving recommendation by our road superintendent to make improvements to the intersection of Candies Creek Ridge Road and Old Georgetown Road by installing numbered stripes, installing a stop sign, and changing the yellow flashing light to a red flashing light. And I placed this recommendation on January 17th voting session also. Thank you.
Commissioner Slater.
So when the road department meets on the 18th, will they have their financials, their monthly financials? Because I don't think we have seen those since August. And that was something that this commission voted, was that they would supply their monthly financials to us, and I don't believe we've gotten them, have we, Lori? The road department? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'll ask Superintendent Collins. Sure will.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Pastor Green. He's been at the hospital many years. Seen a lot of things going on. I appreciate him. Number 2 item, went to Big Tom's on Christmas Day. They were giving away free dinners, and I got the opportunity to deliver some of those free dinners up to Life Care Centers. So that was a great feat for me to do. Number 3 item, I took a tour of Lake Forest School this morning. I had not seen the building, and of course, that's one of the schools in my district. So that was Richie got with me, Richie Stevenson, which we actually went to high school together. So we talked about old times and the way things have changed from today's school and the way it was when we were going to school. So that's a great looking building over there, and I hope we can, keep it maintained and looking as good as it looks today as it will 20 years down the road. And I also want to send out condolences to the Dillard family and to the young child that's life was taken. The Dillard family, that strikes a note with me. I had 3 boys, and I can't imagine my 3 boys, as reckless as they can be, going without a parent. So that touches my heart deeply that these children don't have their parents anymore. That's tough. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you haven't, as a commission, reviewed the schools in your district, I would urge you to make the appropriate coordination and at least go in and meet the principal. It will be an eye-opening experience for those if you haven't been there. Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to send my condolences and prayers to the Dillard family as well. I don't have 3 sons, but I have 3 daughters. To hear the news on Christmas night, it definitely touched our family as well. And very difficult to think about, and our prayers and thoughts go with them. And I too want to thank the sheriff and Bradley County Sheriff's Office and Cleveland City Police Department, and also Tennessee State Highway Patrol for all they do in Bradley County, and for being out on the roads every single day and in the jail, and the thankless job a lot of the times. And all of us should say thank you every single day. And so I do want to say thank you, especially here on National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you very much. We'll move on down. I'm sorry, Commissioner Thompson.
Chairman, I'd like to
Thank you very much. You have that, Lori? Great. Thank you. Anyone else before we move to the agenda items? I now go to the agenda items. A, Commissioner Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you recall, earlier last year in 2022, we voted as a commission to provide money to help with the affordable housing in our community. And City Fields was the recipient of $400,000 of that money. And Dustin Tommy is here today to update us on how City Fields has spent that money. So Dustin, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you for the opportunity to share with this body and update you on how funds were spent and the impact that it's made. My name's Dustin, and I am the Executive Director of City Fields. We're a nonprofit that specializes in neighborhood revitalization, affordable home ownership, workforce training, basically helping people better their lives and better their communities in places that have been sometimes overlooked. We work in the historic Southeast Cleveland neighborhood of Blythe Oldfield, which is District 5, and we are expanding our footprint into District 3, the College Hill neighborhood, which is where I'm a resident of. But I'd like to start out with a quick video we put together for this group. Lori? So, got a brief presentation. I won't hold you too long, but that one. Yep. So, some familiar faces on the screen here. Yeah, there we go. This was open house on one of the homes that we completed with the ARP funding. We've already sold this home. It was a 1920s home on Wilson Avenue in Southeast Cleveland. That was one of the worst drug houses in the neighborhood. We bought the property after it became vacant, had a high level of turnover. We completely restored it, and it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. You could click to the next slide. On the top left, that's a picture of what it looked like before. And I just want to park here for a second and say, you know, nationwide, the housing market is out of control. It is harder than ever before anywhere you go, but here in Bradley County as well, for people to afford home ownership. And we are giving people the opportunity to own a home at the most affordable rate possible, thanks to your help. We are, I'll share more about it later, but gifting people 20% in equity when they purchase these homes. That's tied to a 7-year lien where they have to remain in the property as their owner-occupied primary residence. But it's helping first-time homebuyer families and low and moderate income families be able to afford home ownership when otherwise they could not. Next slide. So how did we even come into the picture here to get to this point? In 2010, leaders in Bradley County from a wide array of groups came together. United Way, Habitat for Humanity were two of those groups, but Chamber of Commerce, several other groups, and began to plan around what's going to happen to this East Cleveland area where there was the old Whirlpool site that's now becoming vacant. And those two, the neighborhoods surrounding that were economically distressed and needed a jolt. And so in 2014, Impact Cleveland was born. That was our name before we became City Fields. We started working. I moved into the Blythe Oldfield area in 2014, and we put boots on the ground and started bringing that community together and bringing hope and vision back to what that community could be. In 2017, we officially became City Fields, a separate 501c3, our own independent nonprofit organization. And that's when we started really investing in houses and selling them to first-time homebuyers. Before that, we had done minor home repair projects on houses, and we administered the TVA Extreme Energy Makeover Grant. But in 2017 is the year that we were born. And this last year, the Bradley County Commission approved funding from the ARP Rescue Plan funds to help us invest more in affordable housing. That's what we have done with the funds, and in a minute you'll hear a testimonial from one of the buyers that have already bought one of the homes you funded. In 2023, we plan to, like I said, expand our footprint into the East Cleveland neighborhood of College Hill, and we have 12 homes slated to complete this year in both Blythe Oldfield and College Hill, and we have that many more houses under contract and on deck to begin in 2024. Next slide. So through your support, this afforded us the opportunity to build two brand new homes and completely restore another one on Wilson Avenue. They are all contiguous. They're right next to each other. So it took an area that looked like blight, that looked like really distressed properties, and it beautified that area and is just totally transformed that portion of Wilson Avenue. The buyers who are buying our homes, there's income cap. It's 300% of the federal poverty index. So it's working class people that are making money, earning money, but it's not wealthy individuals buying these homes. But we're selling them to them slightly below market rate and giving them 20% of assistance and down payment assistance when they purchase the home to make it more affordable. But we require that they stay there for 7 years, and there's a lien on the property that if they sold before that, they would have to pay that back. So that kind of keeps people there, which brings about more stability. And all of these homes are sold to deserving low and moderate income families. So I came here today really to share that with you all and to just thank you for your investment in us and let you know that an impact has tremendously been made that's allowed us to be more efficient and to do more homes than ever before. And we want to get to the point where 10 to 12 homes a year is our new normal and our minimum even. But we are just City Fields, and on behalf of my team and the community, we are just so grateful for all of your support. And I want to end with this brief testimonial from the family. And then we'll take any questions that you have.
So first got to class, great opportunity for us. I think also the economic status of buying a home in this market.
The last few years, especially, been tough for us, and this year we were in that boat of having to move out of the we were renting, forced to find not as good a place to live. So, it really is crazy.
My little one will grow up knowing so many different kinds of beautiful people. I think also loves education, town. Walked around garden. So much for young.
So yeah, and on behalf of that family as well, thank you. Any questions?
So Dustin, since 2017, how many homes have you completely redone?
20, 21. 15 of those have been sold, and then we have 4 that are really either really close, like 95% construction complete, or closer, that we will have sold in the next probably 2 months. So there's a lot of homes coming online probably here in the next month to 4 months, and we are hoping to do 10 to 12 homes this year in addition to that.
Commissioner Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dustin, as you know, we talked before, 2 houses up from that home that was the drug house. I grew up in that house on Wilson Avenue, 1230 Wilson Avenue. In 1963, I was born, and I was taken to that home, and that's where I lived for 21 years of my life. Now, the old field is what we used to call it, because that's what it was. I grew up in that old neighborhood. I noticed as we were panning through there on those homes where the testimonial was at, behind that was the brick church, and it's still standing there today, Big Springs Methodist Church. We used to play all up in that church all the time. That's where, when we played Cowboys and Indians, I would always go, because on the back side of that church was a stairwell, and I could see them coming. So, of course, back then when we played Cowboys and Indians, it was with real BB guns. And we had the little plastic wooden bow and arrows. Now, we'd have the girls basically would dress up like the little Indians, of course, with their hair, and you didn't want to mess with them. Trust me on this one. You can say girls are girls if you want to, but not those girls over in the old field who were bad. But that neighborhood, I drive through there quite often, and I'm so grateful to see how nice you are trying to make it. And of course, you're not going to get rid of most of the, I mean, you're not going to get rid of all the garbage over there. Of course, where the park is down at Blythe Avenue School, of course, I went there for 7 years, kindergarten through sixth grade. And that, where the pavilion is at, that used to be our softball field. And we used to play softball there. Mr. Walker was a teacher there. Mr. Good was a teacher there. And the lady across the street from the field, behind the pavilion now, there used to be a lady lived there. I don't know how many softballs we put through the windows of her home there. Of course, she was always good about it. She would just bring them back and throw them over the fence, you know, and somebody would take care of her window. But I do appreciate you revitalizing that subdivision over there, because that does, it's very sentimental to me, because that is where my childhood was played at, you know. And was there 10 or 20 of us? I'm sorry, you're talking 50 to 100 kids gathering up on Saturday morning. Of course, we're not in the house playing Atari back then. We were out riding our bicycles and climbing trees and scratching our knees up and stuff, you know, which I wished our children today and my grandchildren today could get back and grow up like I grew up. But I do appreciate it, and I do thank you.
Thank
That's
you
all
very
I have,
much.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Goins.
And I seen some of the stuff before it got all this attention, really. And I mean, I've seen a lot of, especially around the Blythe Avenue School. But keep up the good work. Thank you.
Commissioner Winters.
You said you wanted to do 1 to 12 homes a year?
10 to 12.
10 to 12?
Yes.
What kind of budget do you have to raise to do that?
It's growing. It's probably closer to $2 million now with doing that many homes for my whole operation, which the vast majority of that is housing, but the other big pot that is required for us to achieve our mission is the workforce training piece that we partner with Cleveland State, Voc Rehab, Adult Education, and are training. We did 80 trained 80 welders to be certified in MIG welding last year, and have an 80% success rate in getting them placed to really awesome jobs that are increasing their incomes. And so, yeah, that's the other big part of what we do. That
As the first social worker in Bradley County Schools in East Cleveland, I thank you for that, because been in those homes, dirt floor homes, that had no future, but still made a future, great future for themselves, a lot of that generation. Thanks for what you do. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Commissioner Blake.
I'll be real quick. Justin, you mentioned the 20%. How much flexibility do you have with that? Because your world is changing a lot with the Fed getting involved with interest rates and stuff like that. So is it hard set that you on 20%? Because that may not be enough.
I was just approached by a potential partner that is looking to expand a program that's facilitated by the Tennessee Housing Fund, a statewide organization that is doing similar to what we do, but offering 24% equity to people.
Almost a quarter. Yeah.
What now?
Go ahead.
Yes, and that would be tied to a lien similar to ours, and we are looking at ways to partner with them and offer that as well. We would be the first people in the east side of the state of Tennessee to implement the program. Currently, it has closed, as far as I know, 4 homes in Memphis, and we're on the cusp of bringing it here to Cleveland.
So you do have some flexibility. Besides all the good stories and the heartwarming stories that Commissioner Leffers told us about, and the testimony about here, this also makes economic sense from our point of view, and we'll touch on that. I 2 years ago first met you and heard about City Fields and what you're trying to do, and we had tons of finance committee meetings and went over. But here's the beauty of this: other than the humanity piece of it, is this home that is now has an owner in it. They are property tax owners of a higher appraised house than what it was. These homes were, I talked to Stanley and I got the appraisal. We have a spreadsheet that we can share with everybody. These homes were not appraised very high, you can imagine. They put the investment into them, they get them fixed up or rebuilt, the homeowner takes over, and now they're property owners at a higher appraisal rate, and that helps us on our side. We're not in business, but we understand that there's an economic impact, a positive economic impact on that, and there's only going to be more of that.
Right.
While City Fields is quote unquote the owner, there's that time where there isn't. But as soon as the owner takes ownership of it, that's what happens. Last question, Rhoda. The amount that we allocated in our bucket for City Fields, how much have you drawn down? Because yours is on a drawdown system,
Yes.
right? How much of that have you used so far? And if you don't know, I can find out later.
100%.
You've used up all of the money that we allocated?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Commissioner Slater.
And a final, put a good word in, save the date kind of thing. We will be coming up on our 10-year anniversary this year, our organization's 10-year mark, and we've penciled in a date of October the 7th for a big event that we would love for you all to come to. And we're in the early planning stages for that right now. But if you're interested in having some fun and enjoying learning more about our organization, feel free to contact me and we can schedule you to come to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, communication from the audience. Is there anyone that would like to speak before the commission? Going once, going twice. The next meeting will be the voting session Tuesday, January the 17th at 12 p.m. here at the courthouse. Finance Committee will meet immediately following this meeting. HCI Committee will January the 12th at 5 p.m., Commission Conference Room. County offices are closed Monday, January the 16th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Road Department Committee meeting, January the 18th at 9 a.m., and I believe that's at the Road Department. Am I correct, Commissioner Mason? Okay, we're going to have first here and then move down. That's good. Let's see, Septic Committee, January the 24th at 10 a.m., and now just announced City Fields, October the 7th, 10-year anniversary.